After 2 successful entries into the franchise, a third and final numbered installment would be introduced to create a beloved trilogy, Jak 3. Of course, just as his predecessors, Jak was meant to do jumps and flips to his objective. But what if we didn't? What's good? I'm Saggi, and today we're going to give this challenge a third try. Can you beat Jak 3 without jumping? I'm not changing the rules too much, but there are clarifications to be made. The game still runs on the goal engine, so Jak isn't too different. With that being said, there will be no jumping, no double jump, no crouch jump, no roll jump. Now to the oddballs. These are limited actions that will only be used if 100% needed, but aren't necessarily considered jumps by Jak, which includes climbing ledges, vaulting poles, jetboard mounting, jetboard jumping, entering vehicles, and vehicle jumping. And naturally, there are moves that we can use for Jak's mobility, which are the uppercut, the punching uppercut, aerial spin kicks, the dive, and extended dive. With that out of the way, we prepare for the final challenge of the trio. Let's go. Right at the start, there's a ladder that needs to be climbed, and when you reach the top, Jak automatically jumps. We can't have that now, can we? At a glance, the situation looks grim, but using a bit of brain power sparks an idea. This dummy can be destroyed over here, but instead of enacting violence, uppercut atop its head and position yourself as far along its arm as possible. All that remains is to perform an extended uppercut off the aforementioned limb to the end of the stage. Well, it would be the end of the stage if we didn't have to collect these markers. From here, just play the level backwards and then we're done. This is the soonest any of the games in the series have thrown a jump our way, but by far is the easiest. Daddis didn't like our little stunt, so he throws us to the wolves right after giving us the scatter gun. We blow some baddies back and become enraged by the evil within. This plays out the same other than me needing to uppercut onto these boxes occasionally. The first stage was blatantly a tutorial, but we'll be in tutorial hell for quite a bit. We leave the arena and are greeted by Cleaver, the self-proclaimed top dog of Spargus. Although abrasive, he gives us an opportunity to prove ourselves after watching our arena rumble. And by opportunity, I mean feeding his pet leaper. Tutorial 3. We rush down a couple animals that will fit nicely in the last airbender and proceed. No need to jump here, moving forward. Right near where we finished the previous mission, our next one awaits, albeit just a minigame. Not really a tutorial, but I guess it's showing players that minigames will be in the game as well. We talk to some monks and activate this dark eco satellite. It sends a signal after the minigame and it explodes. Next mission. Our next destination is the desert. I like how in the previous mission, Cleaver tells us he'll let us take some of his wheels for a spin if Daddis lets us leave the city, and 5 seconds later, we leave the city with no interaction with Daddis. Anyways, we go through tutorial 4 and run into the inevitable. Press L1 to jump. That's it. That's all. They decided to put boxes all around to ensure you hop over. I try to flip myself over the barricade, launch off the sand dune, restarting the mission, but nothing. No way to bypass it. But that's not all, folks. Just like another mission that won't be named, bam, another jump is required. Vehicle hops are part of the limited list, so this is acceptable, but I still won't be using any jumps during the race. The mission plays the same. Let's proceed. We get 0 downtime after the race. As we enter the Spargus gates, Daddis tells us to immediately go back out into the storm to collect artifacts. This is just a racing mission, except instead of driving in circles, it's an open field, and instead of a finish line, we're making our way to checkpoints. Nothing crazy. We do get a health upgrade though, which is neat. Okay, this mission is some bullshit. Let me give some backstory. I played through the first few missions without jumping prior to recording just to see if the challenge fails instantly, and the car was the only outlier during this test. Nothing gave me trouble, and I even completed this jump list on my first try. But I did not recorded. I assumed it would be just as easy, but for some damn reason, it's like I had a 1 in a million run and I couldn't replicate it. I gave this mission a 1 hour attempt, and not only could I not do it again, but it revealed the giga jank of this shit. When other racers jump and you're near them, you take damage. When they land near you, you take damage. The racers have collision and can push you all around, but are brick walls when it comes to you pushing them. That all would be fine and dandy if the rings weren't so broken. On more than one fucking occasion, I would literally just phase through a ring without it counting. So I'm like, okay, these are super precise. No. Sometimes you'll barely touch the ring and it counts. And as I mentioned other times, you'll just go right through them and fail instantly. There was a moment where I didn't even touch one of the rings and it counted, but the ring immediately after I phased through it? Long story short, the source of me doing this jumpless is, trust me bro. One time I went through a ring and the next one just didn't fucking spawn. This shit had me raging, not because of the jank, funnily enough, but because I didn't capture the footage to prove it's possible. Fuck this shitty ass, animal abuse ass mission. After that nonsensical mess, I get to play a fun mission. There's no jumping, but you get to face some old adversaries, the metalheads. Only this time, this variation are fucking dinosaurs. We fill the final beast and are met with a familiar hologram, but we blow it off and keep it moving. As a reward, we are greeted with another new addition, weapon mods. This one is the wave concussor, which creates a ring around Jack depending on how long the trigger is held. But the more interesting trait is the fact that it propels Jack ever so slightly upward when fired, which also works in midair. I wonder if that will be useful later. Daddis sends us back in the ring to beat some more ass. This isn't necessarily just for his amusement, but so Jack earns his citizenship in Spargus, as you do. 2 seconds after getting our first mod, we're given another. Yes, this is only the second time we've officially engaged in combat, and yes, we essentially have 4 weapons already. This game is absolutely front-loaded with variety. Speaking of variety, we head back into the desert with Cleaver to gather resources for the city on Daddis' request. Yup, literally another fetch quest. All we have to do is get close to these rat bastards so Daxter can lead them to this cage shit. We were only told resource gathering, so I assume these will be eaten. Now you're supposed to jump over these cactus patches, but I just run around them. Nothing serious. Our next venture is more busy work, where we have to go back into the sea of sand and bring stranded wastelanders to their safety, but it's a glorified escort mission. Matter of fact, it's just crazy taxing on Beacon Island, right up until the very last wastelander. The final Spargus citizen is lifeless, holding a dark eco crystal. Thus far, we've been collecting dark and light eco crystals for an unbeknownst reason for now. We're jump scared by a dark eco satellite, only this time it's fully functioning and presumed to be the killer. We take it down and keep it moving. After that excitement, we get to play yet another minigame. It reminds me of the turret section from the Jak 2 beta. We shoot things that appear, that's it. They really wanted to push the envelope with variety. It almost doesn't feel like Jak at times from all the not Jak stuff you do in the beginning. Yet another arena battle beckons us and we are given the Vulcan Fury mod. I killed a whopping 1 enemies with my previous rewarded mod and I'm getting another. Can you smell the power creep? We come upon our final enemy and turns out it's none other than Sig. He survived after all. We disgrace the arena rules and have a chat with Daddis. So Sig was in Haven City acting as a spy for Daddis, which is why he's here and not in Haven. For Sig's contributions, instead of punishing us, we're sent on our next mission. We're tasked with taking out some growing metalhead nests in this random mountain. We take the Gilla Stomper, a truck with a turret that auto fires. We get to this wall of metal eggs and Sig blasted, but that was not a Peacemaker shot. It's a generic rifle shot that happens to be blue. Anyway, We just shoot a bunch of structures and race a time. No need to jump. My next mission is to visit this far off temple, but it requires the dune hopper to leap over the gaps. I do try to find ways to possibly extend the uppercut over, but I fail of course. I have to cross the gaps as usual. Inside the temple we are introduced to one of our old nemesis, poles and trampolines. I'm not too worried about the trampoline, but we get to introduce a much needed tool to our arsenal. While in the air, we can fire the wave concussor to get an extra boost while airborne. I utilize this technique to get past the trampoline. Soon after, poles greet us, but I avoid them by coming to this corner, punch uppercutting into a spin kick, followed by a concussor shot. Not far after, we come across more poles, but there's no way to get up without using both flag posts and climbing up. This is a very vertical stage, so without fail, more poles get in our way, all the way until the end. We go into the glider section and nothing changes. We enter the volcano and we encounter a leaper. Oh boy. We cross a couple gaps and reach a dead end where the leaper is needed. I hop on the leaper, not knowing the game sticks you on it permanently, even upon death. I restart and attempt to boost uppercut, but I can't reach past this geyser here. I proceed with the leaper and I'm forced up a ladder. And surprisingly enough, another Daxter section is up. This has us go through a small section where, yes, jumping is necessary, but considering it's Daxter, I'm not too bent about it. Right after, however, there's yet another obstacle that requires a high jump, but this time as Jack. Despite this, if you position yourself just right, you'll be able to super dive into a wave concussor shot, and if done correctly, a spin kick should give you enough height to reach the top. A couple steps later, boom, Daxter section with unavoidable jumping. I do appreciate how much Daxter has a part in things, even if it's phoned in. We get another dark power, invisibility, and we use it and just leave. End of level, what a ride. We end up back at the temple and use our dark invisibility to swing on some poles. It's possible to traverse without the poles, but I'm not good enough. We get introduced to Light Eco for the first time since Jack 1 and receive light regeneration. We return from the temple only to need to detour to a meeting with Ashlyn. We're ambushed and the mission starts. No jumping, just killing. Ashlyn's all like, come back to the city, and Jack is like, fuck them, they kicked me out. Before Ashlyn departs, she gives us the Seal of Mar. This can be used back at the temple, the place we literally just came from. Anyway, we continue through a glorified jet border course, which forces us to jump a few times to collect these Tide energy pods. There was one that I thought might be a problem, but I just grab it by dismounting. We're granted another light power, the Flash Freeze, which slows down time. I have to use our new tech to cross the spinning pillars and can still make my way across using only punch uppercuts, with mild difficulty. We find Pecker and a precursor vehicle stationed at the entrance of this tunnel. We proceed to use the said tunnel to get back to Haven City. A lot of shooting, but no jumping. Before the city, we have to open a way, so we come through this giant ass mine shaft to locate a bomb. We find some leg armor right before this trailing mission shit. Now we escort the bomb down its tracks by shooting the tracks down for it to ride on. Light platforming is sprinkled in here and there, so it doesn't require so much as a hop. We encounter Vigor, and he unleashes a giant fucking precursor robot on us. I work him a little and take him down. No jumping, so I'm awarded with the Arc Wielder. We get to the city, but must take another route to get to Samus and company due to them being walled off. We go through some totally not annoying suitors and meet up with Torn. We defend the southern HQ from blast spots and it's close. The bots are moving quickly, but I still take all three of them down with minimal problem. We talk to Torn once more and are tasked with breaking through the KG's defenses and giving a missile. I was concerned at first with this mission due to parts that may require jumping. There are ramps on the side of these islands that actually allow me to ride up them. It's not the easiest, but it definitely isn't the most difficult. I play the mission safe, but when I'm given a checkpoint, I feel relieved. It took 20 minutes of attempts, but I made it. I'm let off easy with a gun course following that. Nothing really to say, it plays as usual. Now we get to berate the KG forces and head in to take out some cannons. This mission has us do the dive to activate buttons, but no need to jump. Now we get to go through the funky ass sewers. There's some platforming here, but nothing that can't be taken care of with a few uppercuts. Immediately after the sewers, we transition into another mission where we must destroy these dark eco things that are infesting the city. There are some areas where they want me to jump on a jet board, but you can actually just go off the beaten path and just ignore it completely. Now, are these jumps? Nah, I'm just being propelled into the air. It took some work, but nothing unmanageable. We go from one infestation to another, but this time it's in the forest. This mission is relatively simple until I get to the final 5 plants. They put it in an area that wants you to jump. It definitely seems impossible due to the fact that the green eco needed to destroy them disappears when dismounting the jet board, so no boosted uppercut. With some precision and patience, you can make it across the gap. I get another breather with this next one, a smooth and sweet ass escort mission. Nothing noteworthy. Well, we get another gun upgrade, but yeah. We walk a couple steps and need to make a delivery. Of course, we're homed onto by rocket launching turrets to keep us on our toes, but no jumping necessary. 2 vehicle missions in a row. The KG robots and metalheads launch an attack on the port base, and we need to handle them. All guns blazing, but no jumping required. We're given another gun course, which pans out the same as the last one. Yet another mission that lacks platforming comes up. It's interesting to see just how many missions don't require movement, if any at all. We deliver the bomb and get our peacemaker as a reward. Another assault is launched on the HQ, but this time it's the main base. We make it back to the sewer and are finally presented with some more platforming. Sadly, it isn't enough to stop the run in any capacity. We arise from the filth and make our way to Vin's lab, where Daxter is transported into a not Pac-Man game. Moving on. After that, we get back to the wasteland to collect some artifacts. Just another vehicle mission. I talk to Damus and we're tasked with defending the city from marauders. Boom, boom, next. We take the attack to the marauder base and chase down the remnants. We use the dune hopper here, but these are acceptable. Before going back to the city, we meet up with Sig to take care of some metalhead pests in a cave near the city. No platforming needed. You know the drill. Vehicle, no platforming. You don't even control Jack in this one. Yet again. Coming into the home stretch, we're taken back to the forest, and yet again, platforming rears its ugly head. All you have to do is activate these precursor statues and complete the ring challenges, and for the most part, it's relatively smooth. On the 3rd statue, I started to get some pushback, but nothing too crazy. It's not until the final one where I begin to have the most problem, because of course the final one is the most annoying. It includes all these jank ass grinding parts, but the biggest obstacle is that it includes a jump. To bypass this, I found that you can come over to this tree and do a super dive to the top, then boom, another jump immediately afterwards though. If you're quick enough, you can do a punch uppercut across the gap, but wait, there's more. Another jump. This would be fine if I had the foresight of what was to come, but with each failed attempt, I gathered knowledge, and with some work and nerves of steel, I finished the final ring challenge right at the 1 hour mark. Up next is a mission that sees us taking down an enemy faction factory and a Hellcat cruiser, but do not fret, the platforming comes once that's completed. Walking about 3 steps into the factory, however, activates a Daxter section, which sadly includes a jump. A single jump where Jack could have just frozen time like in the previous missions. To make matters worse, you get to play as Jack right afterwards, so it's really close to spitting in my face specifically. Not long after, Daxter comes up yet again, and yet again a single jump is needed. It's all good though, because the third Daxter section doesn't need us to do one, so that's cool I guess. Don't know why they decided to jam-pack this specific mission with all these Daxter parts, but the lack of variety makes it feel tacked on. They thought it was such a great addition that they added a fourth section. We get a cool car driving section and get to go against our rival from the previous entry, Arrow. But he's somehow less likable in this one, and not in a good way. His battle isn't anything too crazy. Just dodge and knock these bombs into these holes, and it's over with. We make our way to the temple in the wasteland to defend it from Dark Maker spawns. With this visit comes the final light power, flight. As much as I want to pass this part without jumping, inevitably the path to scene leads to a leap. I refuse to make more than one, so I opt to use the flight glitch. The creatures begin to siege the city, and we make our way to Spargus City's defense turret to fend them off. Just another glorified minigame. We jump back to Haven City to destroy more Dark Maker shit, but yet again, it's just another one of those missions that doesn't require platforming. Directly after the forest, our consciousness is sent to the Dark Maker ship and we control one of their droids. There are a couple jumps that need to be made in this section, but all are made with the robot. Next up, we defend cargo that Torn is carrying through the city to the Metalhead nest. This is an on-rails shooting section, so we don't even operate Jack. Sound familiar? Once we blow a hole in their nest, we travel deeper to finish the job. We run into a couple of roadblocks in this one. They're all popping up near the end of the game, tragically enough. There's an impossibly large gap here that forces me to use the flight power, but right after, these dark eco bridges show up to fill the gaps. What the fuck is that? Yet another instance of the game shitting on me for my specific challenge. Other than that, it's just a simple climb to the top to meet Errol. On the next level, we run into another light flight gap. Try as I must, I can't cross the chasm without the flight ability. And here again, not too long afterwards. Tisk tisk. I suppose they couldn't award a power and not have the player utilize it. We get a jetboard bit and it has us jump, but the jetboard jumps are an omission. We go from on foot to in vehicle for the last section of the stage. We get a big story revelation and move on to the catacombs. Nothing worth mentioning on this part. This level is just a mad dash obstacle course, so of course the light flight is here once more, my new nemesis. Side note, the Dark Makers are trying to destroy Light Eco. Why are there even Light Eco vents in their headquarters? We're at the home stretch and are thrusted into the desert with a vehicle. No jumping required. We climb to the top of the terraformer and finish off Errol. This challenge was indeed a roller coaster of events, but it's not what I expected. There are a lot more missions without Jack than I remember, and that's not to mention all of the time I spent in vehicles. This run had promise, but unfortunately there are quite a few areas in the game that give little to no options but to press the forbidden cross. Can you beat Jack 3 without jumping? Of all the games in the trilogy, this one is the most blatant no. Maybe some adjustments could be made to make a shift in the conclusion, but I don't think it's very likely. If you'd like to see more content like this, hit the subscribe button and don't forget the notification bell. If you'd like to support me, become a patron today. I appreciate all of you for watching. I'm Saggi and I'm also out.